It's a bird. It's a plane. It's question mark. What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Fervent 4. Did you know that only 4% of businesses ever cross the annual $1 million revenue mark? Hello, I'm Zack Miller, author of Anomaly, and with me today I have my co-host Tim Ryan, lead man at startwheel.org. Thank you so much for joining us. The Fervent 4 is a weekly show each and every Thursday at 11 a.m. dedicated to sharing insights into growing a world-class business, no matter the climate. It's rainy today. Well, did you guess what it is? It's a drone. Local startup DroneUp has been flying, hovering, and soaring through the skies, delivering COVID kits safely and helping spot all kinds of things hundreds of feet in the air. Anthony Vittone is the COO at DroneUp. Anthony, welcome to the show. Hello.
Hey, Zach, Tim.
Anthony, good to see you.
Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. So when a drone is in the air, I came up with a couple of words that I thought it could be. Is it flying? Is it soaring? What do you guys call it when a drone is kind of flying?
Yeah.
That was my first guess. I mean, I didn't know. It could have been like it's droning, right? Why haven't you guys come up with your own like little vernacular for that? Your own little word, like it's droning around.
There are all kinds of different little, just like in any profession, I guess there's all kinds of little acronyms and terms and things. And yeah, I'm still learning them all, but maybe we will come up with one of those next.
Do you guys count missions and like use sorties and that kind of language as well, or?
Yeah, we count missions every month. There's a frequent. We have a Monday morning staff meeting, and we talk about mission count for the month, mission count for the year. And how that's going. So yeah, no, we definitely keep track of it.
Since this is a world with DroneUp that not everyone understands in a kind of model that people don't understand, let's first define like what a drone is, since it is still pretty new, and then what is DroneUp in this? Okay.
Yeah, sure. So a drone is basically an aerial vehicle, I guess, to use that word, that basically, the pilot is flying, but he's not actually in the craft itself. He's usually down on the ground flying it, and then it can go fly, lots of different places depending on the size of the drone and the equipment that it has. It can go, hundreds of feet into the air, and can go, pretty far distance away. It uses the systems on its board between both GPS and Wi-Fi to keep track of where it is. The pilot has to keep it within visual line of sight. So, generally but you can really see on a good clear day, unlike today that we're having in Hampton Roads, you can see at a pretty good far distance, mile into the distance to keep your eyes on it. What was your other part of the question?
DroneUp. Define what is
DroneUp is a drone service provider. So what we have done is networked about 10,000 pilots across the United States. These are certified, licensed drone operators that are licensed with the FAA. It's called the vernacular in the industry is called a Part 107 pilot, and this is the sections of the FAA regulations that licenses drone pilots. So anybody can buy a drone. You guys could go down to Best Buy today, go buy a drone, and you can put it into the air. And about 2 million people in the United States have done that, or at least 2 million drones have been sold in the US. But there's about 200,000 Part 107 pilots. These, again, people that have passed it's kind of like the driving test for drones. And they've passed this test. And in order to take money for flying a drone, you have to pass this Part 107 test. So we've taken about 10,000 of these pilots, put them into a network, created an app to keep track of them. We keep track of their 107 certificates, their what equipment they have, where they are, what experience they have, all kinds of different factors. And the short form of it and the elevator speech of it is basically we're the Uber for drones. So we keep track of all these pilots across the United States. We have them all over and in some foreign countries as well. But we know exactly where they are. We know what equipment they have, and we know what their capabilities are, so that when a client reaches out to us and says that they need drone services in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We pull up and can pull up into our database, put the mission into it, and then it gets sent out to pilots in that area. And we, based on what equipment they need and based on what the availability is, it gets dispersed to the pilot and he accepts the job.
Do you have a tracking device on each drone, or is it more that the actual pilot who's going to be driving the thing from the Uber standpoint?
It's like the Uber standpoint. So it's basically the tracking is in the phone. And so then we know, what that pilot, where that pilot is located, so that if we're sending it to a guy who's who is going on, we want to have the mission in Albuquerque, but he's on vacation in San Diego, we know that he's not in Albuquerque, so don't send it to him. But the converse could also be true. That guy could be in San Diego, and we could say, hey, we got a job for you. You want to make a little scratch while you're on? You got your drone with you? Do you want to make a little scratch while you're on vacation?
I hear a lot of people talking about, from a COVID perspective, contract tracing. Is it similar to, I don't know if you know anything about that, but is it similar tech to that? Or Tim, maybe you know anything about that?
I think it's the similar technology that Virginia has created, that contract tracing app. And I think it's similar to that. But in this case, you've consented when you've downloaded our app and then you've gone through the whole thing. You've consented to let us know. But, you guys see this on your apps all the time. Can we turn your location services on? And it's all the time, or only while you're using the app, or whatever. So we keep track of it that way. And obviously the pilot can turn that off if they want to, but then it's hard to give them jobs if they've turned that off.
Super cool, man. So your app, is that for pilots primarily to use, or is that for end users? How do end users get in touch with you? Or is that web-based?
Yeah, the end users get in touch with us right now the old-fashioned way. They call us, email us, ask for a proposal. We have a client that we do a lot of work for. It's a real estate investment trust, and they just sent us a spreadsheet of 50 different properties that they bought across the United States that they needed inspections on. So we take that spreadsheet, put it into the network, take it out, and then all of those go to all the different areas, for those 50 different locations, to the pilots in all of those different areas, and then disperse it. So right now that happens the old-fashioned way. Eventually we would one iteration that we see going to is that eventually the client can just put it straight into the app and essentially source their own. And it goes straight out to the network based on where it is, but we're not there.
And the client is typically a business or some sort of government agency, is the kind of end that Tim was talking about?
Yeah, it's usually a business or a government agency. So we have on the government side, we're doing some work for different government, federal government agencies, but we also have a state contract. The state of Virginia has actually led the way on this. They issued an RFP a couple of years ago where they said, they were getting all these different requests from different agencies to buy drones, hire drone pilots, and do all these different things, which had obviously significant budgetary impact for the state. So Virginia basically took the position of, instead of doing all that, instead of hiring all these people across all these different states and buying all this different equipment, how about we put this out for RFP and you let private contractors bid on this work, so then you don't have to buy these drones, hire these drone pilots, do all this different stuff, do the maintenance on it, learn all the regulations and stuff like that. So we submitted an RFP, but what was interesting about it was, and I didn't even know that this could happen until I've been here, but all these different estates attached themselves to the Virginia proposal. And so it's now become a national RFP and a national contract, and any different state. So we've signed on about 15 different states, I think is the current count, and negotiating with a couple more, and they are now attaching themselves to the same thing, and then we provide services to those states.
So you said you have 10,000 pilots?
Yes.
And I would assume that they're all 1099?
They are. Yeah. We have some in-house, some staff pilots as well, but the main bulk of our work is done by the 1099 pilots, independent pilots. It's folks looking for gig work,
Mm-hmm.
People, it's kind of like, now with Uber, it seems like you've run into a lot more people that do it full time. But, when Uber first started out, it was basically guys and gals who were basically just looking at it as gig work, side work. And that's pretty much where the drone industry is right now. You have some people doing it as full-time work, but it's a lot of supplemental income.
Are you looking to add to that 10,000? Do you have a goal in mind that you want to hit, or are you guys good at 10,000?
Yeah, we're always looking to add to it, because sometimes you always run into spots that you don't have enough pilots, or the pilots that you have are not free or can't get it done in time that you wanted to get it done. So we're always looking for new folks. There's every once in a while, people will send us a job in a place, and they're like, don't you have any pilots there? I was like, we do, but there's not a lot of people who live there. so there's a pool. It's kind of like, very populous areas. Like, we have a lot of pilots in Texas, for example. There's a lot of people who live in Texas, but then you go to like Montana, there's not a lot of people who live there. It's a nice place, I'm sure. I've never been, but there's nothing knocking it. But when you have less people, then there's less people who are eligible to buy a drone, less people who are eligible to take a 107 test, and it just sort of goes down from there. So
walk me through the use case typically. So someone on your sales staff goes and reaches out to a business, to a government agency, and says, "Hey, that you're doing your typical business development. Hey, we have this pool of drone pilots. We can come shoot your thing when you want, and we'll help facilitate that type of piece." And they say, "Hey, I have this job." They say, "Cool. When we do, we'll let you know." And then I'm thinking in my head, this is how I'm thinking it works. And then they say, "Oh, we have $10,000 to do this for 3 months to have this person come out and shoot." And then you send out that kind of job application or job RFP, if you will, to these people, and they bid, or how does that whole thing go down?
Yeah. So from the client standpoint, a couple of different use cases for that would be helpful. So I guess like we work with an environmental consulting firm that does inspection work on properties when they're changing hands, or because the business wants to have an environmental inspection report done. But for example, there's a client we're working with right now that is purchasing a number of different properties. That's part of this whole chain of businesses, and there's, I don't know, maybe about 50 different locations. They want to have an assessment done. The environmental firm is going to do an assessment of, what is the status of those different properties? What do they look like right now? What type of issues may there be? And they're doing a whole bunch of different analysis on it. But one of the things that they need to see is, what does it look like right now? So, in terms of, COVID and the impact on it, before they might have put people on they might put people on planes, or might have had folks go out and go visit those locations and check them around. But with the pandemic, and this has helped accelerate everybody's movement into drones, is, they utilize us now to send a drone pilot out there. We do orbital shots all around the property. We do close-up shots of it. We give them all kinds of different data and different abilities to evaluate that property, from the drone. The drone takes a whole bunch of different pictures, what's called an orthomosaic, where they do an orbital video around it, or they do different location shots of it, take close-up shots of, they can do roof analysis of it, they can do parking lot analysis on it. There's all kinds of things they can do with that. And then it feeds it back up to them. We put it into the cloud, and then they can pull all of those assets down for them to analyze. So it's a lot easier for them to do it that way, and it's a lot cheaper, frankly, in a way, because I can send a drone pilot out there who's local, rather than them putting people on planes and putting them out there to go take a look at all those different properties. So that's sort of, from the client side, that's sort of one use case. And then we also do, for example, a lot of construction monitoring. It's very helpful for construction companies, especially large construction companies that have people in lots of different places. They have a large construction project going on. Lots of different people need to see what's going on with it. And so we have several different projects we're working on where we once a week, the pilot goes out and he goes films that site, and he does what's great about it is he does the exact same pictures in the exact same spot every time. He gets the same position in the air every time, takes the same camera angle, so they can really see what is the progress on that facility.
Is that pattern, I'm sorry to interrupt, but is that manually or is that software based?
No, it's software based.
Cool.
So what we try and do is pre-program the missions as much as we can, so that essentially the pilot who is going out to that location is really just putting the drone in the air, and then the software that we utilize, it's not our software, but the software we utilize basically takes over from there, and it allows us to really, on a quality control basis, really deliver the same product to the client every time, and they know that they're getting it. It's in the exact same position every time. And they can really sort of do an analysis from week to week, and people in different offices can see it from week to week and see what's going on. Their management team can see it. Well, how's that project going on in Des Moines? Well, let's pull up the latest shots, and they can do a progression video of it and really see. So those jobs come in, we put them out to the network. Generally, we put them out to the network of pilots. We'll put it out. We can do it two different ways in our platform. We can put it out as a bid situation where this is the job, bid on it, let us know what you're willing to do this for on a weekly basis, or if it's a one-time job. More often than not, though, we put it out there as this is what we're willing to pay for the job. And, and then pilots will come in and apply for it and say, yeah, I want it, and I'm willing to do it, and they'll accept the pay or not. So generally that's the way we do it, but we have the ability to do it both ways.
It seemed like years ago, not too many years ago, but it was like the whole drone industry was the wild, wild west, in the sense of it was just a free for all. And so it seems like things have kind of matured quite a bit. What did DroneUp do to kind of end up where you are in terms of being an industry leader and kind of taking control of the situation?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I really look at the I'll date myself a little bit, but when I first started to work, the internet was just about invented. Al Gore had just invented it. And, there was an email. It came probably within a year or two after I started working, but you sort of reached that point in the internet, where when the internet first came out, there were people who adopted it very quickly, and then there were always these industries that were just like, no, never mind. I don't need that newfangled internet. I'm just going to keep doing my yellow book pages advertising or something, And now it's gotten to the point where it's so ubiquitous that if you're in business and you don't have a web page, you're not really in business. So drones are sort of in that same sort of development cycle where, in the beginning, it was like people were like just checking them out, not really sure, looked at them maybe more as toys than they were as something that could help in a business. But now they're in the life cycle and COVID has helped accelerate that for a lot of different industries and a lot of different companies. But now they're in the place where everybody's like, okay, we need to start incorporating drones into our business model and into the things of what we do. And we're really, when I first started with DroneUp, which was in 2018, we were far away from that. But now every quarter it sort of gets better and better and increases more and more, and we get more outreaches from different companies. We're like, we've just got to figure out how to work this in. Because there's just a lot of times when a drone can do something. It doesn't solve all the world problems and it doesn't do everything, but there's so many times where a drone can do something safer, quicker, easier, less expensive. If you think about think about like a bridge inspection that's going on, and they're stopping traffic underneath the bridge. They're putting a guy up on a trellis, hanging him underneath the bridge to take a look at it or something. They're doing all kinds of different analysis on it. I can fly a drone up there and everybody stays safely on the ground the entire time. And I can get you better pictures that way.
Right.
So, there's a lot of times where it can do things that are a lot more. We did a lot of parking lot inspections for, and still do a lot of parking lot inspections for folks. I mean, and for large retail clients, literally this is how they were doing it. They have a guy walk the parking lot and identify on a little map where there's a crack. Okay, well, we can do better than that. I go over and take an orthomosaic. I have a pilot go over and he does an orthomosaic across the entire parking lot inspection. I mean, it creates a blueprint not only for the company to identify how, what needs to be repaired, also the life cycle of that parking lot and when it's going to basically need to be repaired completely, but also you just hand it to the contractor as opposed to a little X drawing of an X on a thing. It looks like there's a crack over here. It's like, no, this is exactly what I want you to fix. And it's just a lot more. There's a lot of times when it's a lot more efficient.
You guys got a ton of press and headlines in terms of COVID test kit delivery through drone technology. How did that come about? And just expand on that whole story. That's really neat. Yeah,
so it's a great story, and I think a good partnership again with the state of Virginia, where so we did in March or April, somewhere in that time frame. We basically teamed up with CIT, Center for Innovative Technology, Go Virginia, and then us, and we funded we basically did this testing procedure down in Lawrenceville, Virginia, at an abandoned college down there. It just simulated how we thought COVID deliveries could be done under FAA regulations, and how delivering COVID test kits could be done in that type of an environment, in a sort of, a typical everyday housing type environment or regular urban environment. And the test went great. The team did a really good job developing it and developing the program and then implementing it. And we did a whole report based on it. And there was, we got some press based on doing this test. Well, a little small retailer named Walmart down in Bentonville saw our test and saw our report and called. And so we have done two different, we're just launching our third now, but we've done two different 6-week projects for them, one in North Las Vegas and one in a town called Cheektowaga, New York, which is just I had to practice saying that, by the way. I had to practice. It's just outside of Buffalo. And essentially what we do is we set up in the parking lot of Walmart, and we have a command center in their parking lot. And if you live within a mile radius of that Walmart, you can go on the website, put in your information, and we will deliver a COVID test kit to you by drone. It's totally free to the patient. The delivery is free. The test kit is free. The testing test results itself are free. It gets delivered to them, dropped on to their driveway or to their sidewalk, and then in the box is the test kit and then a FedEx delivery. And you might say, why do you FedEx in the back? Why don't you pick it up by drone? Well, once you use the test, it becomes hazardous material, and what 107 guidelines don't allow us to pick it up at that point or to use it at that point without a waiver from the FAA. So they get a FedEx envelope in there, they put their testing vial into that, they send it off, and then the results are delivered to them online. So it's a really great program. We just finished up in Vegas a couple of maybe about a week or so ago. We have about another week in Cheektowaga, and then we're actually launching this week another operation in El Paso, Texas. And I don't know if you've seen any of the news reports, but El Paso is having quite an outbreak. So it's pretty bad down there. So we're doing the same thing out of a Walmart out of there, and it's a great program. Walmart's taking a real leadership role in doing this, and them and Quest Diagnostics, who is doing the testing on it. It's a terrific program.
So I think a lot of people, when COVID hit, a lot of businesses just in general were negative, weren't thinking about kind of, I hate the word pivot, but I feel like a pivot effect, if you will, or just not really seeing like what could happen. What's the forecast of this? How could we leverage or capitalize off of this terrible thing, if you will? And it seems like that's something that you guys have done. How quickly, when all this started going down, did you guys think, oh, there's something here for us? Or have you guys always had like a contingency plan in here for stuff like this because of things in the past where like you guys went to Houston when that went underwater for a little while? And is this kind of just in the plan of action? Like if a pandemic hits, we're ready, or
Right.
how did the whole thing go down?
Well, I think that, I mean, to some extent, some of the commercial business that we've had with real estate companies and inspection companies, environmental firms calling us, we were just sort of set up for that anyway. And COVID just accelerated their calls into us and necessitated from their own business model. I would say the delivery of the COVID test kits we sort of set up, and through the program that we did down in Lawrenceville, Virginia, we sort of I guess pushed that along, I would say, a little bit, because showing the world what could happen and how this could be do a better thing. Because if the biggest, one of the biggest points of infection that can come is when a sick person goes into the pharmacy or goes into a place interacting with other people to get tested. And so, what the model that we've shown, and through this delivery model with Walmart and Quest, it's shown that we can do this still completely socially distant. Nobody has to interact with anybody. Everything is done without any interaction between two human beings. So and if you think about where that can go from there, it can continue to go from there, beyond COVID test kits. If just the regular flu, wouldn't it be nice if one of the biggest contaminations for just regular flu is going into the pharmacy and going in to get your Theraflu. If we could do it so that you don't have to go in, what could we do to flu contraction then? And any type of infectious disease or cold or anything else, what could we do to sort of stamp that down if we can get you to the place where you can get what you need in your own home without reinfecting other people?
I mean, when you put it like that, I think it's very powerful, right? Where it's you're in a place where you're contaminating, and then those people are going to go, and not everyone goes into your local Rite Aid to buy cough syrup. Maybe they're buying it in ginger ale or something like that. And so it's very interesting. So when you are having conversations with any of these organizations on something that had never been done before, were they receptive? Was it something that was a difficult pitch? How did that whole thing go down, trying to convince someone, hey, it doesn't seem like this has ever been done before, but we know it can work and be very productive for the country, the world?
Yeah, I mean, there's some organizations we've talked to that were more conservative and a little bit, and I don't think we're ready to try something like this. I mean, we demonstrated with Walmart, even before we did North Las Vegas and Cheektowaga, that this could be done, and they had a lot of faith in that. And clearly from the results that we've shown, it's worked out. But I mean, there were definitely some folks that didn't were more reluctant to trying it out. And but I mean, I think in the end we've shown that it can work and can be done.
Yeah, one of the things that made a ton of headlines, I don't know how long ago it was 60 Minutes special, Amazon talking about drone deliveries. With that, as you said, COVID kind of accelerated that with test kits and what have you. So what's your take on taking that to the next level? Are the capabilities there today for Amazon to do something? And what's your advice to other retail outlets? Is now the time to get on board, and if they don't, is this going to be another reason that everybody hates Amazon because they were so quick to respond?
I'm going to say something that may shock you. I actually think Walmart is in a better position to take advantage of drone delivery than Amazon. and here's why. Walmart has 5,000 retail locations across the United States. I don't even think I'm including, and Sam's Club probably adds to that. Distribution centers probably adds to that. They have a tremendous amount of real estate within a Walmart. Or let me say it this way: 70% of the population lives within 3 miles of a Walmart. That is a tremendous base of operation to start a drone operation program, right? I mean, if think about if all of the different Walmarts all had their own drone delivery operation, they can hit a tremendous amount of people quickly and easily. Quickly, relatively, let's say, within a couple of years. But if you look at, say Amazon, they don't have that retail footprint. And the drone regulations are not at a place right now where they can, even though Amazon might have a distribution center, say here in Hampton Roads, they can't hit all of this population under the current drone regulations. And without a serious number of waivers from the FAA, they can't hit that population easily. So, they're going to have to do some sort of combination of mobile centers as well as, maybe working from their distribution center. But it becomes a heck of a lot more complicated for them.
So Amazon can't do it because they don't have as many centralized locations to move back and forth, where the biggest issue in transportation, as I understand, is the last mile thing. And because Walmart has so many locations, 70% within 70% of the country lives within 3 miles of a Walmart, something like that. That becomes more of an easier, less mile thing than having one location. Because what does Hampton Roads have? One Amazon distribution center at this point?
Yeah, there's like one, massive facility. I'm not trying to underscore it. It's a massive facility, but you can't hit Portsmouth, Hampton, Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, Norfolk from that location. Right. You can't. The drone technology doesn't exist to do that. The FAA regulations don't exist right now to do that. I'm not saying, 10 years from now, hell, maybe even 5 years from now, maybe we'll get to that place, but we're not there now.
But in the meantime, we buy Walmart stock once they.
I just think it's fascinating because this is the technology that actually flips that entire model. Like everybody is always talking about, these retail stores are an albatross around, the retailer's neck because they're expensive and they have all of this different real estate they have to pay for and the labor and all that, and which is all true. But this kind of flips it and makes that asset now a positive and not a negative.
So it's interesting that you use the drone aspect of this, because I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think that the Walmarts are in a better position than the Amazons because of exactly what you're saying. But I saw it as the retail function of that store where people go in, because that is the expensive thing, that closes, and people will go into their cars and pick up the stuff. But now you're saying you've come in and said, well, remove the people picking up the cars and they'll go get the last mile delivered via drone. And it's still kind of the same process of there, except it's not my car, it's a drone delivering that thing. And so it's interesting that we're kind of on the same page, at least from the first part.
Right.
There. Let's be honest. People are lazy, so they would rather have the thing delivered by drone than having to go pick it up. But I see retail situations where there are big warehouses like a Walmart going away because that company, I don't know what the exact numbers are, but it's a higher percentage to have to make the bananas look pretty, to have the checks mix lined up so that the person can walk by the thing, where they don't care. All it has to do is have their employees or even a drone or a robot built by SVT robots to kind of track where it is, to go in there and say, we're picking up all the stuff and then we're going to have it here and DroneUp or whoever is going to deliver it. Yeah,
Here, Zack, you muted yourself.
That's the robots that I think people, freak out about. And it's like, hey, this is the tech. It's going to happen.
Right. And that's the interesting thing is, what's going to come first? Is it going to be the drones delivering stuff doorstep, or is it going to be autonomous vehicles that are visiting your house? But it's coming, and it's a matter of what's going to happen first. But people got to get on board and accept it right now.
Yeah. One of the things that'll have to happen too, and I think your analogy of the folks being able to go into the stores to pick up their stuff is also good as well for the retail environment, because it basically just adds another option for that store. You can come in and shop the store. You can come in and just pick up your stuff and pre-order it, or you can have some stuff delivered by drone. I think the drone delivery, at least in the immediate future, is probably going to be more one-off type stuff, or prescription drugs, or I forgot the milk, or we're not at a place right now where I can deliver your entire grocery list by drone, just because it's.
What are the weight?
Yeah,
it's right now.
So it's the large drones and stuff is probably around 10 pounds and under, and that's not a huge drone, but that's still a pretty good sized drone. The COVID test kits that we're delivering are just a few ounces, and that's why prescription drugs is actually, I think, and over the counter drugs is actually the next logical step here, because it's fairly lightweight, lightweight things. The asthma inhaler doesn't weigh a whole lot, or whatever it may be.
So the 10-pound kettlebell or the 25-pound kettlebell that Tim bought,
we're going to take a little bit for that. We're going to a couple years for that.
It's taken a little bit to get to that too.
Right. So.
I want to bring up this picture that Tim found of you guys running. Tell me about this picture. Tim sent it to me last night.
That was on the river in India.
Yeah, I think we were in Mumbai.
Yeah, that was in Mumbai, and we went for a run in India, and it was hot as blazes there. But and then I don't know if you shared with him the picture, Tim, where we're very cautiously dipping a fraction of our toe in that water.
Yeah. That was that whole experience was wild. I remember looking at the weather forecast, and it was 100 and something, and normally it's partly sunny skies, but the weather forecast literally said smoke. I think that we did more damage to ourselves by running than we did.
Yeah.
If we would have stayed inside.
So
it's the kind of place. I don't know. When I go to a new city like that, I got to go for a run. I got to
That's right.
Just to say, I ran in Mumbai. It's pretty cool.
We ran past monkeys. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I can't tell. It looks like these are two different pictures on two different days. Are they the same day?
No,
Yeah.
that's I don't know. Maybe they are. Are they?
We did run several times on that 2-week trip.
Okay, so that was my next question. Was it a one-time thing or a multiple-time thing?
Yeah, we did a couple different.
Yeah, we went to in Delhi. We did a run, and I think we did one in Bangalore too. We ran a couple of times in each of the cities while we were there.
Anthony, tell me about your fitness journey. You're a big runner. You're wearing a 70.3 hat there. We all know that Tim has run 14,000 days in a row. What's with you in fitness? Are you a fan?
Yeah. So I used to weigh about 300 pounds. So it's been a while. It was when my daughter was first born, and my wife said that she wanted to get trimmed down after the baby, and then looked at me and said, and what are you planning to do? So it kind of began from there, and we started off very simply. We had an elliptical in a spare room in our house, and then we got bored of that. And to me, fitness is sort of something you have to keep changing it, or if you get bored, then, at least for me, if I get bored, then it tends to fall off. So we did the elliptical, then we joined a gym and did that for a while, and then and we still belong to gym, but to me, we just keep adding different things to it. And then we decided, well, let's try some road races. So we did a few of those, started off, 5Ks, 10Ks, that kind of stuff, half marathons. And then we said, well, now I don't want to get bored. I don't want to stop doing that, but I want to do something else. So then we added triathlons into it and started doing that. So
What's the flavor of the week or 2020 from a fitness perspective? What have you been doing from a fitness thing there?
2020. Well, so like when the gym closed, I just started researching all kinds of things I could do, body weight workouts and things that I could do in my, around my house. Obviously there's a lot more running because I could go out and go do that. I haven't signed up with any races yet because I just keep worried about them being canceled. And then, I'm like paying all this money and then they get canceled.
Yeah, and a lot of races do not offer a refund.
No, and they basically said, well, no, we're just going to change it virtual, and here's your T-shirt. And I'm like, okay, this race costs $200. A T-shirt isn't going to cover it.
Well, yeah. I mean, the Ironman races aren't cheap.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And they're notorious for not returning money. So.
Yeah, and from my perspective, half of the value of doing the race is the beer and food afterwards.
And Ironman doesn't have beer afterwards, I don't think.
Oh no.
They didn't at mine last year, or at least I didn't see it.
I thought Eagleman did have some, but I might have been wrong. Or maybe we just got it afterwards, but I know they have food, and I like chow down after one of those things. I like, to me, I mean, part of the reason why I like to exercise so much is because I like to eat so much. And there's a relationship between those two. I'm like, okay, I have to eat so that I can feel guilt-free when I go to dinner tonight.
That's right.
From a weight journey standpoint, I mean, has it ever come back on? Is it how did you change the habit to like really stick to it? Because I think a lot of people, you see something like a Biggest Loser, and I've been a part of the 3 Bill Club too, so I totally know what that's like. So what did you do to keep the habit keep going? Has it gone back up, or what did you do to kind of keep things rocking and rolling?
I mean, I guess yeah. I mean, I don't really, I've been lucky enough, I guess I haven't had those intense swings of going up and down. There have been times when it got really almost, maybe in a sense, my wife maybe would even say too low. And then I, went back up. I feel like I'm at a good place now with it. But I mean, to me, I mean, I've sort of done a couple of different things, and some people, folks have asked me about it every once in a while, but like one of the things I do to maintain it and to make sure it doesn't get too far out of whack is I weigh myself every morning. I mean, a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people think that's crazy. You see some people online and they'll talk about like, you shouldn't do that but once a week or whatever. And I'm like, no, I do it every morning. And the reason is because it's easier to say, oh, I put on a half. Well, to me, it does two things. One, it shows, oh, I put on a half a pound in the last couple of days, or I put on a pound in the last couple of days. I got to level this back out. Instead of getting to the point where it's been 10 pounds or 5 pounds, and then you're like, God, you feel so demoralized and like, God, hopeless.
It's easier to lose a half a pound than 10 pounds.
Right. The other thing it really does is it shows the effect that certain foods have on your body. Which are different from, what might be for me versus you guys. But there are certain foods that when I eat, I know the next day what's going to happen. I mean, I just sort of prepare myself. I'm like, okay, it's going to go up tomorrow because you ate that. So as a result, and that may be because of fat content or sodium content or whatever, or, big bowl of ice cream or whatever, you sort of know, I know what the effect is going to be, and then I can plan on that and then adjust, the next couple of days. But it does teach you sort of, okay, that has a big effect on me. This does not have that big of an effect.
Well, the scale is like your bank account.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you probably have an idea of what's in your bank account right now, or at least if you made transactions that come out, right? So if you get on the scale every day, you have a good understanding of what happened to get there. And so I think a lot of people don't weigh themselves because they don't want to see the number because they're afraid that they're actually going to have to do something to get to it.
Right. Or they're not comfortable with that number, and they see it tick up and they don't know how to write it.
I've been trying for weeks, maybe months, to get this man, Tim Ryan, to sign up for the Eagleman race, the Ironman Eagleman race 70.3.
Anthony will tell you those guys tried getting me to do that back in business school 10 years ago.
Okay, well, we're gonna keep doing this. Okay, so what is it going to take to get him to sign up? Allegedly, he went to go buy a bike. Bikes in 2020 aren't gelling, so he couldn't get one. Like, there's all these things like butting his head, and I send him the link every once in a while. I'm like, come on, man. Like, when you did Eagle Man, which is 1.2 mile swim, 56-mile bike, and then a half marathon, all back to back, up in Cambridge, Maryland. Tell me about that experience, like your times and things like that. Let's try to paint the picture to get Tim to actually sign up live on air, so he can convince him to finally do it and goad him into it, if you will.
Well, so I mean, in the end, Eagle Man I think was a really good experience because it shows there's a lot of just like with the marathons that Tim does, there's a lot of dedication and you have to have a lot of mental strength as well in order to get through one of those races. And marathon is the same way. But, it's funny because I had a couple of things like happen in Eagle Man. Like I got out to the swim. Like I was in the swim waiting for my wave to start. And somehow, I mean, my race was almost over in about 5 minutes because I got out to they had us all like in this area and I don't know if we could touch the ground or maybe we were just treading water, but somehow like I got pushed up to the front of the group.
Ugh.
And then all of a sudden the gun starts and I'm like, oh, this isn't good. I'm not supposed to be here. So
did they not do corrals at that point where they said you're going to be?
It was like a corral, but there was like, what was I like in my 40s then? And, the most popular age for triathlon is all the people in midlife crisis in their 40s. And so there was a lot of people in my wave. And so all of a sudden, like I'm trying to swim fast enough to get away from all the people because it's so crowded and congested. And I was going too fast for my own ability. And and so eventually I had to basically just pull off to the side and just chill out, calm myself down. And I basically was in the water, calming myself down, going, "You've trained too long and too hard. You're not ending here." So, and then then after that, it became just a nice casual swim, and then started to pick up some speed after that. But it was kind of like, all right, calm down. And then then the rest of the swim went great, and the bike went fine. It was long, but it was good. I will tell you the part that Tim would excel at, I think, is the run, because he's a runner, but I mean, since that's at the end, I mean, it takes a lot of energy. And I think that Eagle Man run, I don't know if you had the same experience, Zach, but it's hot as blazes on that run. And there's no tree coverage at all. So
yeah, it was cold that day and it rained. So, and I was still slow then. Well, I'm still slow now, but like, that first race for me was very difficult. I am significantly faster. So when I did it before, it took me about 7 hours and 40 minutes. Okay. This year, when I did my own version of the race, same distances, I did a 5:40. So I had a 2-hour PR. So that's like, yeah. So like I took fitness a little bit more serious this time. I followed a plan and like was like, let's get in there. And so
that's awesome.
Thanks. I think Tim doesn't want to do it because he knows I'm going to beat him in something finally, and he's like, eh.
Oh, there it is. See what he tried to do right there?
Yeah, goading him into it. What was your time, Anthony?
Gosh, I'm trying to remember. I think it was something in the 5 range.
Yeah, I think sub 6 is like you've done pretty good.
Yeah,
and I think sub 5 is like you're really good, and so that's my goal next year is to get sub 5, and so to get there, I think it's gonna be running, and so
I remember on the run they had at the turnaround point there were supposed to be popsicles, and I felt robbed because by the time I got out there were no popsicles.
So they had snow cones at mine, and I was like, well, I haven't ever had a snow cone in training. The last thing I need is to have this snow cone, but
right.
Yeah, it can be a wild thing. So Tim, you convinced? You ready to do it?
No, I've always been ready. It's just just waiting for that drone to drop off the bike at the front door.
The bike industry is doing really well. That's probably why you couldn't find a bike.
Yeah, it's been tough.
The whole pandemic is like sold out bikes everywhere.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Yeah, Anthony, when we first met, you were the token attorney in our class.
Right.
What was it like for you to go from being an attorney to then next thing you know, you find yourself you're in a COO role in a startup? What was that transition like? Was it easy? I've just always been curious about that.
Yeah. So the previous company I was with was a company called Swimways Corporation, which was a consumer products company here in Virginia Beach. Great company, and then it got sold to a big publicly traded company out of Canada. And I stayed with the transition for a couple of years. Got sold in about 2016, and I stayed until about 2018. But my role at Swimways had lots of different hats and lots of different responsibilities, and I was used to making about 5 decisions an hour and just rolling with it. And then you get into a big publicly traded company, and next thing you know, every decision requires 5 different committees to sign off on it, and that wasn't working well. So it didn't fit my personality. So 2018, I decided it was time to look for something else and do something else. And I'd never done a startup before. I'd never worked for a startup before, so I thought that would be interesting, as part of my own education process to see what that was like. And then Tom Walker, who was the founder of DroneUp, was just sort of building out. His staff really needed, some additional people to help on the operational side. He's the founder and the visionary, and drone expert, and him and his wife had founded WebTex and had a lot of experience over there. But there was a whole operational side that just needed could only do so many different things. So I came over to help with that. So, and I do legal work as well, but I do a lot of the operations stuff as well.
Very cool. What's something that we haven't talked about today that you like to talk about, business-wise, life-wise, anything like that?
Gosh, I haven't thought of something like that. The election? No, we don't want to do that.
Well, it's been great talking to you today.
Yeah, probably don't want to talk about that. Traffic in Hampton Roads, and
is there still traffic in Hampton Roads?
Why can't the stoplights be coordinated better?
That's my thing. Well, you would, and you don't get out much, Zach, but the traffic has steadily been increasing to the point of like pre-pandemic levels. There's still HRBT, Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel traffic is now back to what it was.
Maybe that's why I love 2020, because I don't get out and I don't have to deal with that.
Do you go over go through the tunnel every day?
No.
Because you guys still live in Newport News, right?
Yeah, we're on the peninsula in York County.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, it's you would know, traffic-wise, you would not know that there's a pandemic.
When I have gone out to do stuff, it does seem like traffic is exactly the same. And so I always am like, as I've looked at stuff, I'd be like, it seems like a lot of people are out. So what is the difference? Now, granted, I haven't gone to like restaurants to the extent of where I did before. Obviously, concerts and things like that are non-existent or very reduced. And so I guess that's where a lot of the stuff can go down. But it seems like there's a lot of people going out, whether it's going to the grocery store, to work, whatever. And so I have gotten in traffic a couple of times. I'm like, oh, I forgot what this was like. Like you just forget. And so that's crazy.
Yeah.
Anthony, well, one question I had written down that I didn't get a chance to ask yet is, what is the one industry that you think would be prime to take advantage of drones that has been the slowest to adopt?
Public safety. I think they're dipping their toes into. They're probably the laggard behind in all of the different industries and all the different verticals of taking advantage of the technology. Early, I forgot what year this was. I think it was last year. We did turned out to be a search and recovery out in Amboy, out in California, and in a desert. And I mean, the public officials were very, helpful and nice and receptive, but I mean, they basically had been looking for this person by helicopter. Helicopters just, they're up so high, and they it's hard to see a lot of stuff from a helicopter. So I mean, I think an adoption could have happened quicker there to bring in drones to go at a lower altitude. And I'm not trying to imply in any way that the result would have changed, but I mean, it was just interesting that consideration had never been given to. It was the first they had heard of. They had thought to think of that idea was to use drones. So.
Because it can be so much lower. Is that type of work that you're talking about similar to what happened in like Houston when you guys went out there and looking for stuff?
Right. I mean, you can fly a drone a lot closer, obviously, to the ground. Yeah, obviously, you have to stay at a certain level closer to the ground, but the images are easier to see, and it's easier to spot things. Like when you're doing a roof inspection post-hurricane kind of a thing, you don't want to have a hurricane go over the roof. You need a drone to go over the roof and take pictures and show you all the damage to the roof. We do a lot of roof inspections, and for a company, one of our clients does software, and they take our results and put it into analysis for big insurance companies. And you couldn't do that same work by helicopter. You have to do it by a drone. And I think the adoption of drones into public safety could go at a quicker pace than what it is.
Interesting.
Very rad. Anthony, it's been a total awesome few minutes talking with you, meeting you, and learning about the drone industry. And I hope that we have convinced Mr. Timothy Ryan to sign up for that race. He seems a little still on the fence, even though he says he's ready. But it's been a lot of fun. It's been exciting to see DroneUp do what they've been doing, and continued success there. And if you guys are interested, go to droneup.com to check them out. If you have a drone and are, what is it, a 107 pilot?
That's right. Get your license and sign up and download the DroneUp app.
There you go. Anthony, it's been awesome. Tim, always good to see you. Until next time.
Nice meeting you guys. Nice talking to you.